Good week. It's BobbyFi here. We're going to be talking through position by position breakdown for the NFL main slate on Sunday. I was going to do this show earlier, but every time I started to do it, there'd be another groundbreaking injury that was going to change the whole slate. So I have to figure out exactly. We still probably have some news that we're waiting on. We'll find out Sunday morning. We'll be live at 11 a.m. Eastern. Appreciate it if you guys would join us, and if you get in here, please click the like, subscribe, all that stuff. And with that said, I'm going to start getting into it. But before I do, I'm going to talk about the position by position. I'm going to talk about the games we're stacking, because obviously the position by position has something to do with the games that we're targeting today. I'm still on the side. I'm a little less than I used to be a full on hardcore stacking, but I still am doing enough of it to where I think it's again, it's going to pay off probably one out of every 5 weeks. When it does, it should be a big hit, and it's cost me a little to not maybe differentiate a little bit some other places, but I have a lot of triple stacks this week. So the games I'm targeting, I love the Baltimore Cincy game. That's probably going to be my highest owned, followed by a combination of Buffalo, Houston, Indy, and Jacksonville. I have them tied at 2. After them comes Green Bay and the Rams. After that, Arizona, San Francisco, then the Giants and Seattle. But I will have some exposure to some other games. Those are just the main ones I'm targeting. So looking at the ownership here, I'm going to compare it with my exposure and see where I'm at basically, and let you guys know what I'm doing. So you see that Love is going to be the highest owned quarterback. I have no problem with that. I'm probably going to be just below the field, even though I think he's my 3rd highest owned quarterback right now. So I'm a little spread out at quarterback. So look, Love is looks like a great play and everything. I have to get to some Geno. I don't currently have any. I like them running the game. I like Walker a lot, so I'm not currently as high on Geno. I have probably 5% Purdy, and I'm extremely high on Trevor Lawrence, along with Lamar. He's tied for my highest owned quarterback right now. Stafford, I have at 6%. CJ Stroud, I currently have at 12%. Let me make sure that's right. 14%, excuse me, on CJ Stroud. Josh Allen above the field, I have 9%, and Daniel Jones I have 8% of, and a little bit above the field there. Deshaun Watson 4%. That's what I've got. But I like getting way over on Lamar and Burrow in that game, and Burrow I have only 6% of, but that should be over the field. I also am probably going to add some Joe Flacco, as we just got news that Anthony Richardson's out. We've seen Flacco air it out before. Downs and Pittman feel like pretty strong plays to me. We'll get into wide receivers, but I like that quite a bit. So a little bit spread out at quarterback, but mostly targeting again, want to have pieces of Baltimore, Cincy, Indy, Jacksonville, Buffalo, Houston as much as I can, along with the obvious Green Bay and Rams game. So at running back, Kyren Williams projected to be 33% owned. I actually have him as my highest owned running back right now at 52%. I have Derrick Henry as my 2nd highest owned running back. I like getting over this field number. I have him at 41%. I am just below the field on Jordan Mason. I have 30%. Because I like the game so much, I'm going to go way down here. I love James Cook. I have 27% James Cook. I'm playing a lot of running back in the flex this week. Kenneth Walker is my next highest owned at 23%. And then we have Ramondre Stevenson, Tyrone Tracy, Josh Jacobs, all at 14%. Trey Sermon, I have 10%, but I might get a little lower on that one. Again, like the game environment. So I always like to get after the indie games. I have 10% of Swift right now, and 5% of Akers, 5% of James Conner, 5% Alexander Madison, 7% of ATN, but I'd like to make that number a little bit higher. So maybe I'll get rid of a little bit of my overwhelming Kyren Williams shares and maybe get to some of that. So that's sort of where I'm at for running back at the moment. Going to move over to wide receiver here and talk a little bit about this. There's a lot of sports going on today, so I appreciate that you guys are tuning in. I sort of was doing this live and hoping people would just watch it later, but nice to see all you guys in here. Say what's up if you want to. Always happy to see you guys jumping on in and see where you're at. So, wow, we've got Michael Pittman as the highest owned receiver, and I like Pittman, but I am a little bit lower than the field on that. That's a big number, and there's a lot of spots to try and target. I wonder if that number stays with Flacco. It actually should be better with Flacco, theoretically, but I'm not sure that's how it's actually going to break down. So looking at my exposure, Dontavian Wicks, Nico Collins, and Brian Thomas Jr. are my highest owned wide receivers. I am below the. You know what? I'm not even below the field. I'm just in between, depending on what you think the ownership is on Jaden Reed. I'm going to have around 25% by the time it's done. Same with Jordan Whittington. But I really like getting over on that Brian Thomas play. He's really taken over the role. I think he is the number one receiver there. I think you're going to see Kirk also. But I love getting over this number, and that's probably my biggest differentiator at receiver. Wan'Dale Robinson, just because, I mean, look, he's getting all these targets with Neighbors, but that's partly why he's getting the targets. So I'm actually a little bit above the field, but again, I don't feel amazing about that because I'm wondering how they're going to get in the end zone. After that, Deontay Johnson's one. I know it's the Bears defense has been good, but I like Deontay Johnson in this. I mean, he's 13 and 14 targets with Dalton at QB. So I like him to Deontay Johnson over the field, 20%-ish for me. I am using Trey Tucker as a little bit of a value play. We've seen him get enough work already with Devontae, but without him, I think that you're going to see even more. And who did I click on here to get to? Oh, I have Johnson. That's why. And just going through the other guys, Debo, I'm a tiny bit under on, but like the play, just can't play everybody. A little bit under on Metcalf, over on Smith and Jigba, again over on Deontay Johnson, with the field on Tutu Atwell, above the field on Jamar Chase, above the field on Kirk, below the field on Slayton, but not much. Above the field on Melton, below right with the field on Ayuk. I don't have much Mac Hollins, and I'm kind of curious where this came from, but yeah. I'm way over the field on Stephon Diggs and Brian Thomas. Those are probably going to be the guys who make a difference for me, including Trey Tucker. I'd throw into that mix as well. Keon Coleman's another one that I think could sneak in. And the one that I'm going to end up with trying to get to 15 or 20% of, actually both of these guys, both Dell and Cooper. I think Tank Dell's kind of been forgotten. And yes, you have another revenge matchup for Diggs, so I like that. I think you can triple stack this week. I understand it's better to run the ball on Buffalo in general. I don't think they're going to be able to do that effectively. I like the idea of Buffalo getting out to a lead, running Cook, and then playing the three receivers, or even play two of the receivers from Houston with the tight end and Schultz. He's going to have a game at some point. A little bit over on McLaurin. Don't have much Wilson, but a little bit. Don't have Lockett. Greg Dortch, I didn't really make it for me. I like the idea of Jalen Polk, but I didn't get there personally. I am way above on T. Higgins as I'm just over on that game. Pretty much everybody else here is not really relevant for me, but Higgins and Downs are guys I'm definitely going to get to some of this week. And I'm a little annoyed with myself for not getting to Gabe Davis, who used to be like my guy. He's more of a blocking receiver anyway. Like, it's one thing he's really good at, but I do think that he's going to have a game at some point. Maybe this is the week. Marvin Harrison is mostly in my afternoon stuff, but I do have more than the field of them. That's sort of my main group this week for receiver. I'm going to jump over to tight end real quick. I'm going to check the chat and see if anybody's saying anything. Oh, here we go. Here comes Triple J. When you get to tight end, how does Kincaid not have a smash spot with Shakir out against the Texans? That is a good question. We haven't seen the Kincaid that we really, want to see and love and everything like that. I think it is a good enough spot. I like that idea. So let's look, he's getting some ownership, but I think that's a really good call to try and get to more Kincaid. There's also a few other ones. I think the Ingram, look, I have Ingram a pretty decent amount right now because I like the game, but just on its face, I don't think that's the best. I'd rather either save or maybe spend up for a little bit of a higher ceiling, although I just love that game environment. So Ingram does have the ceiling, but why not get to some Bowers, Kincaid, McBride? I have some of them in some big buy-in lineups. Also playing some Eric All just as a value saver, because if you want to play Chase with Henry and Lamar, which I do, you're going to have to make some concessions somewhere. And Eric All is a guy I'm using for some value. But right now it's Kraft and Parkinson is my highest owned, followed by Ingram, All, Schultz, Dulcich, McBride, Gesicki. That's sort of the way I've got it ranked right now. But look, by Sunday, it's going to be very different. I also do have some George Kittle in stacks. He's one of the lower owned pieces of San Francisco you can get to. Same thing with Ayuk as a receiver. But that's sort of what I like in that spot. I would like to try to get a little more different with tight end, but I found myself needing to save, which is why I played the fairly chalky Parkinson and Kraft. I do like the Parkinson play better than Kraft for what it's worth, but I like both quite a bit. And, it's going to be Green Bay receivers and Rams players between Kyron Williams, kind of flooded throughout my lineups. I just think that's a good game environment. I know everybody else does as well, but I agree. I'm a Rams fan. I'm a little afraid that maybe Jacobs is going to be able to run the ball like crazy on them, and that might hurt some of the receiving options. But I would include Bo Melton as another cheapo. I want all the pieces of that game in some form or another. Defense, we have a little more chalky defenses this week, and honestly, I'm overweight both of the most chalky defenses. The top three, actually, the Jaguars are a little lower than I thought they would be. I have it 1, 2, 3 Broncos, Patriots, then Jags, and after that, I am getting to some Seattle where I'm able to spend up. Where I'm spending all the way down, I am going to play some Arizona just because we've seen at times Purdy turn the ball over. It doesn't feel great, but if you need to pay the minimum, that's sort of where I'm at. I wanted to try and get to some of that. Also, one thing I like to do if I'm playing a lot of lineups is try to spread out and actually play defenses in the games I'm stacking when I'm not in those, not in the game stacks. But I like to stack. I like to have those defenses because if the games don't go or if they don't go the way you want, maybe you get the defensive score that you're looking for or something like that. And it's sort of like a little bit of a hedge to treat it that way. T-Money's asking 10-man PPR, Burrow, Jacobs, Gibbs. Oh my God. Worthy, Brooks on IR, 2. Okay, just traded Connor. I don't know what the question is there. I guess that's just a comment. Don't really know what to say. Are you asking? Ask the question again, T-Money, or just in a shorter sense. I can't quite figure out what you're asking quite there. Connor and Jameis and JMO for Gibbs. Not sure I love that one. I don't know which JMO. If you're talking about Jameson Williams, I think that might have been a mistake, but we'll see. All right, I don't have a whole bunch else to go through. I thought I would maybe do one build here and just see what Sabersim gives us. If we want to play 100, let's put the lottery as the contest sim. A reminder, we do have the 1099, guys. It's an incredible offering for a 3-day trial. This is the time to do it because you can play the NFL Sunday and you can get everything from Sabersim. This is awesome. I'm still using the old version right here, but the new version is awesome. I just need to familiarize myself a little better. I'll have it by next week. But let's find the Millionaire Maker. Where are we? Where are we? Where are we? And why can't I find you? Why can't I find you? Oh, there we go. Wait, that's not right. That's the 4444. Let's do, where is it? Come on. Oh, there we go. 3.25. Okay. All right. So let's run a build and see what it gets us both before and after. I'm going to have to change a couple things. So let's say, I'll just do this. I'll just say I want at least 10% of the guys, the quarterbacks I really want. Where is my min and max exposures? There it is. All right, so let's say I want at least 10% Lamar. Let's do this. So we'll go just minimum 10% Lamar, and we will go minimum 10% of Stroud, because those are two that are I just want to be a little bit above. So let's do the settings, let's build the lineups, and let's see what we get. Oh, I got you, T-Money. I don't know how much I love that. I do like Gibbs, but it's an interesting situation with their backfield, and I like Connor maybe a little more than most. But look, if Arizona keeps struggling, and they very well may, you might not get much from Connor. So maybe it does work out for you that trade. I'm very, very high on Jameson Williams, and probably, I mean, I've been high on Jameson Williams for years, just waiting for him to get the opportunity. He truly has had the opportunity, and I think that he's going to take advantage of it as he can, continue to take advantage of it as he's done so far. All right, let's see what we got here. We're going to have this in just a second, and let's see what else is going on. Yeah, any baseball takes from anybody? I'm going to the Dodger game tonight, so I'm pretty pumped up about that. All right, so let's see what we got before the contest sim. But yeah, let's throw out some baseball takes if you guys have some World Series stuff. I know it's a little bit of a crapshoot, but all right. So before running the sim, we've got Love, Lawrence, Smith, and I asked for 10% Lamar and whatever. In terms of all players, exposure, 79% Jordan Mason, 77% Kyron Williams, which would tell me I love the Derrick Henry as a pivot off those guys. He's going to be significantly lower on. He'll have ownership too, but I do love him as a pivot, and you can see getting all that. But this is before we're running the sim. So now let's run the sim and see what we get. And we're going to sort by RAROI and see what we got there. Jeff saying he made a bet that Joe Flacco would eat a slice of bun cake at halftime, but I'm worried that there won't be TV coverage in the locker room and the bet will be voided. Any recommendations? Joe Flacco's a pretty out there guy, so maybe you find out in the post-game media, if he gets interviewed after the game, I guess they'd have to win for that to happen. But I don't know what to do with that one. I think it's pretty funny question there, Jeff. All right, so sorting, we'll figure this out in just a second, and I'm going to play around with it and see sort of what we are getting as far as stacks go. All right, let's do flagship ROI, and then we're going to look at the stack types too. So you see that it varied a little bit, but let's see the stack exposure. So you've got mostly QB +1, QB +2, not a whole lot of runbacks for this. QB +3 with no runbacks. Okay. I think I would like a run back with a QB +3, but again, it's a different game than it used to be. We used to just have the game stacks and that was that. Football's been different. It's been kind of weird this year. We have the lowest amount of air yards for quarterbacks through 4 games than we've ever had. But we also have the highest completion percentage for quarterbacks that we've ever had. Everybody's sort of just taking what the defense gives them, sort of waiting for teams to open it up a little bit. And I think we're going to see a little bit more of that as the season continues to go on. So this is what you're getting. You've got Jacksonville as the highest stack, Indianapolis. That makes sense. Great pace game, teams that can put up numbers. I really, really like that game in general, both sides of it. And I wish we didn't have to play Trey Sermon. I wish I could play Jonathan Taylor he would have been the lower owned pivot, I think, off of the other two. He would have had some ownership, but not as much as the other guys in that range. You see San Francisco, Houston, kind of what you'd expect. A little less Baltimore than I like. And I like Cincinnati as well. So those are the ones that are getting a little bit lower on their thing. So let's do some playing around with it for a second here. And let's just change the min exposures and see how much that changes things a little bit. See our exposure. It didn't change much with the first one. Let's try 3. Okay. Now we're starting to get somewhere with a little bit of changes. All right, we're slide over. All right, 59% Mason, Madison. So I do think Madison's kind of interesting. It's, these numbers for Sheets and Goldie that they haven't updated because they're going to wait for more information before they do. But you can ignore their ownership on that one because that's why it's not showing up. That was when we didn't know what's his name was out. So Madison, I certainly understand it. Not the most exciting thing. You see that they went very heavy on the Broncos Jags defense, especially the Broncos. That's huge. I'm with it. Logically, the play makes perfect sense. It just the Patriots are just right there at the same price, and I'm just sort of switching them back and forth. I am a little higher on the Broncos as well. At wide receiver, I'm curious what they're getting different. Where they're getting different. Wandale, Jaden, this is pretty chalky. And Deontay Johnson, I like that. I'm over on the same overweight stance. Trey Tucker, overweight. I'm on that same page as well. Xavier Legette. Okay, that is maybe somebody we need to start looking at. Is this the week? Last week was the week, I guess, but I think I'm still on the Deontay Johnson train, but I don't mind that Legette idea. Just a lot of guys. And I would just be overweight Brian Thomas and the Jacksonville passing game in general. It's just sort of how I'm treating this. Anyway, guys, we really appreciate you tuning in. That's sort of what the builds give you at first. Again, I'm hand building this week. I just feel like, Sheets and I talk about this all the time. Sheets is like an expert at the multi-entry, large, different scripts. He's really good at like putting his little angle on it and being successful. I'm a little better with knowing the game, and that's sort of my angle. So I like to do a little more hand building than he does. I'm also usually not playing quite as many lineups as he is. But it's one of those things. There's a lot of ways to win at DFS, and I think that we offer a lot of those ways. So hopefully you guys will come join us. Remember, $10.99 trial for 3 days, the SaberSim Ultimate Package. It's got everything for as many builds as you want. It's got all of our content as well, all of my plays, I literally just posted in our Discord my exact exposures of all the players. At an early look, I will update that when it gets closer to game time because probably need the information news on Sunday morning before we do anything. But all of Rhodey's playbook, which is awesome. And we've been shipping tournaments out here, from LOL to Showdown Baseball. It's been a lot of ships lately, including like our guy. Again, I want to give another shout out to 3Pandemic. That guy is that's his name in our Discord, but he solo shipped the League of Legends Championship for $100K with a $20 entry, one entry. So I believe it was 20. Anyway, it pretty sick that he did that. So that's shout out to him. Shout out to Sheets for finishing third in that same tournament. I won a baseball one earlier this week. I chopped the first big baseball showdown 4 ways, which was not too bad. Sort of the best you can hope for. And I hope everybody really enjoys this fun sports weekend. Got some live stuff in the golf going as well. So that could be fun. Could be a fun Sunday overall. And I get to go to the Dodgers game tonight, which it's going to leave me very miserable or very happy. I hate San Diego. So this is a real rivalry series and I'm looking forward to it. So go Dodgers and let's get after it tomorrow. Let's see some screenshots in the Discord. Thanks so much for tuning in. Click like on the way out. And